Hidden in an abandoned Nazi army base,
Big is good when it comes to armor.
the relics of an astonishing secret weapons project.
Just the sheer size of where they park these tanks is really impressive.
Not just a tank, a mega tank.
The height of this tank would be 11 meters. That's roughly the size of a four-story house.
Inspired by the Führer himself.
This is it. This is what I want.
Hitler absolutely buys into the idea that big is better.
Designed to crush the enemies of the Third Reich.
It must be horrifying and terrifying to the enemy to face this.
This is the incredible story of Hitler's super tanks, the engineers who built them,
It's a masterpiece.
and the aces who rode them into battle.
Kill ratios were very high.
In the space of 15 minutes, Michael Wittmann destroyed 13 tanks.
The biggest construction projects of World War II. Ordered by Hitler to secure world domination. Now they survive as dark reminders of the Führer's fanatical military ambitions. These are the secrets of the Nazi megastructures. The Eastern Front. SS Commander Michael Wittmann is riding into the largest tank fight in history. The Battle of Kursk.
Platoon! 228.6! Attack! Attack! Attack!
Tanks dominate land warfare in World War II. And Wittmann commands the biggest yet built, the Tiger. It's an awesome machine, and Wittmann will use it to become Germany's most celebrated and deadly tank ace.
Hey, Max! 2 o'clock! No high explosives!
High explosive loaded!
Today, only a priceless handful of Hitler's huge Tiger tanks remain. And just one reveals how they were put together.
It's the only occasion you can see this tank and its pieces like a gigantic puzzle.
Tank historian Ralph Raths is exploring Nazi Germany's entire super tanks program. Because, thanks to Hitler, the awesome Tiger was just the beginning.
Hitler himself was fascinated with big tanks, and he was the driving force behind them getting bigger and bigger.
Hitler's obsession with giant tanks and big guns begins in World War I. As a corporal on the front line, he witnesses the power of heavy artillery firsthand.
Hitler would have experienced this massive weight of firepower, this incessant shelling. This would have been something that would have been burned into his memory from his years as an infantryman. People tend to view the First World War as the war of the machine gun, but really more than anything else, it was the war of the artillery piece. Guns get bigger, they get heavier, they get longer range, throwing bigger and heavier projectiles further distances.
In World War I, Hitler doesn't just watch artillery getting bigger, he sees it becoming more mobile. With the arrival of the first tank, Britain's Mark I.
Here you are, a German infantryman in 1917, and over your trench looms this giant metal box, which is impervious to the light small arms that you've got with you. It must have been an extremely frightening experience the first time one of those tanks crossed over a trench. 15
years on, Hitler rises to power, promising to avenge the losses of World War I. But peace treaties banned Germany from building tanks, a must-have weapon for modern armies. So Hitler approves their development in secret. Today, hidden in thick pine forest, lies an abandoned Nazi military complex that once led the world in weapons development. This is the former HQ for Nazi Black Ops. Over 25 square kilometers of high-tech weapons labs and firing ranges, tank works and fuel dumps. Here, Nazi scientists created the world's first ballistic missiles. And it's also here that revolutionary tank legends will be born. Colonel Chris Wilbeck is a veteran of tank warfare in Iraq and a tank historian.
This is where they conducted tests on their tanks, but it certainly has run down now. It's seen its better days.
Tests performed here would transform Hitler's idea of how to fight a mobile ground war.
It'd be scary to get inside the mind of Hitler, but he had to have been influenced by World War I, where he was a corporal that fought on the front lines and saw the horrors of that static, linear warfare. No one wanted to have another war like World War I. So everyone was thinking about what can the tank do to restore mobility to the battlefield so that you avoid that long, drawn-out, costly war.
At Kummersdorf in early 1935, Hitler is shown the first Nazi tank, the Panzer I. It can move at 39 kilometers per hour, 8 times faster than the tanks Hitler saw in World War I.
When he was presented with a display of what tanks could do here at Kummersdorf, he had to be impressed.
This is it. This is what I want.
Hitler's new panzers promise unprecedented mobility on the battlefield. But there's a problem.
The panzers that so impress Hitler are really tiny. They're 6 foot high, they're only armed with machine guns, there's 2 men in them, but very quickly they realize that these tanks are just not going to cut it in a modern war.
Between 1934 and 1939, Nazi Germany produces a series of bigger panzers with bigger guns.
The Panzer II gets a cannon, and then the Panzer III gets a slightly bigger cannon, and the Panzer IV is a yet bigger cannon than that. So they go from, say, 5.8 tons, which is the size of the Panzer I, to 20 tons, which is the size of the Panzer IV.
In just 5 years, Hitler's panzers quadruple in size. No longer a secret, the panzers are about to go into action for the first time. In September 1939, these tanks smash into Poland, kick-starting World War II. The unprecedented speed and power of panzer warfare spawns a new word: blitzkrieg, lightning war. The genius behind the Nazis' successful blitzkrieg tactics is General Heinz Guderian.
This landscape is perfect.
Yes, sir!
Panzer in the middle, grenadiers left and right.
Yes, sir!
Guderian's success is about far more than cutting-edge machinery.
The point about the Panzerarm is it's not just the tank. The tank is the visual expression of that. You know, when you see the film footage, what you see is the tanks. But actually what makes them effective is the whole package. It's the communication ability. It's the cooperation with the air forces, with artillery, with infantry. That's what makes the Panzerarm effective, not the individual tanks on their own.
Guderian's blitzkrieg tactics are successful pretty much from the beginning of the Second World War. They punch big holes into the Polish lines. They punch big holes into the French lines. The French are simply not capable of keeping up with the fast-moving German way of warfare.
Part of this seemingly unstoppable force is 27-year-old Michael Wittmann. A farmer's son who has risen through the ranks of the SS, he's forging a reputation as a commander with an uncanny knack for killing the enemy. In 1941, he's part of an unstoppable German army that conquers huge swathes of Europe. Now Hitler turns his tanks east for the invasion of the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa.
When Barbarossa commences, the world will hold its breath and make no comment. We have only to kick in the door and the whole rotten structure will come crashing down.
The Führer masses the largest invasion force in history on the Soviet frontier. 3,600 tanks and 4 million men.
Confidence amongst the Panzer Army is enormous. And who are they up against? They're up against the Red Army, who propaganda has portrayed for years, ever since the Nazis took power, as being a bunch of sort of redneck peasants, Bolsheviks who know nothing, and it's going to be a walk in the park.
On the 22nd of June, 1941, Germany invades. Within hours, they make a shocking discovery. The Soviets have a much better tank. The T-34. In previous battles across Europe, Hitler's armored units have destroyed everything in their path. The T-34 is heavier, faster, with better armor, and packs a bigger punch than the latest Panzers. Hitler is going to need some bigger tanks. German engineers are searching for a weapon that can eliminate the threat posed by Soviet T-34 tanks. And they find it, in the form of a gun called the Flak 88. Originally designed to shoot down planes, this weapon will one day sit on the first Nazi super tank.
We need a bigger gun. I've said this before. Do not try to trick me. We need a tank with an 88.
If the Germans mount the Flak 88 on a Panzer, it'll be the biggest gun ever put on a tank. But adding a gun this size will add huge amounts of weight.
Deciding for an 8.8 centimeter gun was also deciding for a heavy tank, because you need a big heavy tank to transport this gun.
This new super tank will be very different from the Panzers that came before. It'll be given a name: the Tiger.
The development of the Tiger is a major turning point because it marks the point where the Germans suddenly go, yes, big is good when it comes to armor.
Hitler's new monster will be the biggest tank the war has seen. Now he needs someone to design it. His first choice is a 66-year-old car designer named Ferdinand Porsche. Porsche has never built a tank before and is best known for something rather smaller: the Volkswagen Beetle.
Hitler admired Porsche because he thought that he was a technical genius, maybe the biggest technical genius of the time. Shortly after Hitler came to power, Porsche and Hitler met, and Porsche introduced his ideas of a sports car. That car was very successful at the time, and it raced around here.
This is the former Avis racetrack, Berlin. Here in the 1930s, Porsche's sports cars showcased German engineering excellence and delighted Hitler. That led to a commission to build the Beetle, Nazi Germany's people's car. Creating the biggest tank of the war is a very different challenge.
Of course, looking at these two vehicles, the difference couldn't be bigger. This Volkswagen here was designed to serve the people, the simple people, if you will, and the other one was designed to kill the simple people.
Porsche must go from making family cars to a killing machine.
Hitler and the Nazis said, go ahead, let's make a real monster of a tank. Porsche said, okay, let's do it.
But even for can-do Dr. Porsche, putting together a monster tank won't be easy. Today, at an old flour warehouse in Switzerland, an exceptionally rare Tiger II tank is being rebuilt from scratch. For tank historian Ralph Raths, it offers an unprecedented chance to see firsthand the challenges facing Porsche.
That's a very impressive sight.
Porsche's Tiger will have thousands of precision parts, many hand-tooled. The main cause for its size and complexity is the gun.
If you build a big gun and it shoots, it will go back through the recoil. So if the gun goes back into the turret, it needs space. So you have to make the turret bigger so that the gun has the room to go back. So if you start to make the gun bigger, everything else will get bigger accordingly.
To carry the 88mm gun, the Tiger will be more than twice the size of any previous Panzer and weigh 60 tons. The pressure on Porsche is compounded by the announcement that a rival German engineering giant, Henschel, will also make a prototype. The successful model will result in a massive contract for the winning designer.
The Henschel engineers took the classical path. They put an engine in the back of the tank, a transmission through the whole tank, and then generating power on the axle of the tank via torque on the tracks. That's the classical way to power a German tank. Porsche, on the other hand, used a combined diesel-electro engine, meaning that he had a diesel engine powering two electromotors on each track separately, which had the great advantage that there was no transmission needed at all.
Porsche's system does away with mechanical gears, which are heavy and take up valuable space. It's a bold, visionary idea that won't be adopted for mass-produced cars until the 1990s. But will it work on a revolutionary new tank? Hitler's 53rd birthday. His treat? To watch demonstrations of the two rival Tiger prototypes. Porsche's so confident his version will get the Führer's approval that he's already building 100 chassis.
When Porsche and Henschel presented their prototypes on Hitler's birthday in 1942, the classical conservative design of Henschel proved very well on the testing fields. They drove around, they did everything they were asked for. The machine worked.
It's just the electrics. It is not a problem.
The Porsche Tiger, on the other hand, went up in flames internally and didn't accomplish anything on the testing field. So the decision was quite clear.
Porsche's innovative tank is a failure. His engine is too complicated and suffers repeated fires.
Porsche's idea were intelligent and clever and interesting, but the Henschel design, on the other hand, worked.
It is Henschel's Tiger that will go into production. The Tiger is more than twice the size of the main Soviet tank, the T-34. It's also precision engineered by hand and even comes with its own operator's manual.
They produced this richly illustrated and very well-written manual for the Tiger crews so that each and every man on the Tiger knew what he had to do in his function on the Tiger.
To grab attention, the Tiger manual includes pictures of scantily clad women. and Armaments Minister Albert Speer, telling gunners not to waste ammunition. It also features clever tips on how to deal with the tank's exceptional weight.
It says if you're not sure if your Tiger is too heavy for the ground, take a comrade, put him on your back, go to the place you're unsure about, and stand on one leg. If you don't sink into the ground, the ground pressure of your Tiger is okay with that ground. If you sink in, your Tiger is too heavy. So the heaviness is a problem, but they also provide the solutions for the simple man at the front how to decide what to do.
The Tiger is an expensive sledgehammer built to smash Soviet lines. Now Hitler will test it in combat at the largest tank battle in history. But will his decision to go big pay off? Spring 1943. The Russian front. The German forces are preparing to attack a 200-kilometer bulge around the city of Kursk.
The reason the Germans want to do this, to attack here, is twofold. First, because they want to reduce the front by 170 miles. The main reason is to take on the biggest concentration of Soviet forces head on and hopefully defeat them. Everyone knows that this is a pivotal moment in the war. If the Germans lost at Kursk, their ambitions on the Eastern Front were over.
But Hitler is racked with doubt. Does he have enough Tigers? He delays for 2 months so more can be made, allowing huge Soviet defenses to gather. The scene is set for the biggest tank battle in history. Leading the charge will be 29-year-old Michael Wittmann. This dedicated commander has spent 3 months training with his new Tiger. He knows that its armor gives him a huge advantage over T-34's half the size.
They can't pierce our armor unless they get within 600 meters.
Should we keep our distance from the enemy tanks?
No! Give it the gas and let them have it!
But that means...
Give it the gas and let them have it!